Hello, we are part of the American Pharmacists Association, Generation RX, and we are currently pharmacy students at Toro University, California, and we're here to give you a presentation on the misuse and abuse of prescription medications. So, what is a prescription drug? Now, by a raise of hands, how many of you think that I don't know, the Advil or the Tylenol that you get off the shelf of a pharmacy is a prescription drug? Okay, a good amount of you. Unfortunately, it's not exactly right. We define a prescription drug as a medication that is given to you or prescribed to you by a doctor to treat a specific illness to you. Now, by a raise of hands, who here thinks that this is true? America's biggest drug problem is the use of illegal street drugs. Okay, a good amount of you. Unfortunately, that is false. Prescription medications are actually among the most abused substances in the United States. In fact, prescription medications are even more abused than things such as marijuana. Now, over 3.8 billion prescriptions are purchased every year. Now, why do you guys think that so many prescriptions are being purchased? Well, a possible reason is due to advertising. You see, how many of you have seen those commercials on TV for drugs that, have people frolicking around in a field, acting all happy and joyous, while a voice behind them lists off a bunch of side effects that they may experience if they take this drug? Okay, like I said, a good amount of you again. Now, this is called direct-to-consumer advertising. And in fact, the only other country in the world that allows this type of advertising along with us is New Zealand. Now, why do you think this is? Well, I know when I see advertisements on TV and stuff, I want to go out and get that product. Let's say a new laptop is advertised on TV. I want to go out and try it out and get the newest, coolest thing. And that's how people may see drugs. They see an advertisement on TV, so they want to go out to their doctor and ask them for it and be like, hey, I want this drug, give it to me. Now, another thing that TV advertisements kind of provoke people to do is, what's the first thing you usually do when you see something that you want on the television? The first thing I do is I go to Google or I go to the internet. I want to find out as much about this product as possible, and I want to start researching it and seeing everything about it. And by the end of my research time, I'll be the expert on it. Now, can you guys see the problem that may lead from that, or that may arise from that? Now, I'll give you an example. So let's say someone has like a rash on their forearm or on their arm. They've had it for a couple days and they don't know what it is. So they go on Google and they type it in, I have a rash on my arm, and they click enter. And what shows up? Google says they have a tumor. So they start looking up all these drugs and all these different things that they should do to treat this tumor. When in fact, the person forgot that, they were scratching their arm nonstop because they had an exam and they were nervous. You might think this is kind of ridiculous, but it happens more than you think. So people try to self-prescribe themselves all the time. And by a raise of hands, how many of you have ever tried, one of those one-size-fit-all things, like like a glove or a hat? Okay, a good amount of you. Now, how many of them actually fit you perfectly? It should be very few. And that's the same thing with drugs. They never fit, or that's the same thing with drugs, is that what may work for one person and may work amazingly for one person may not work for another and could even be very harmful to them. Now, fact or fiction. It is okay to share your prescription medications with others if they have a very similar medical condition. Okay? And it's actually fiction or false. It is important that you only use prescription medications as prescribed to you by a healthcare professional. Only take the medications that are prescribed to you. Remember what I just said. What may work for one person may actually be harmful or even deadly to another. Now, each year, about 7 million Americans abuse prescription drugs. And as I said before, they're the most abused medications or prescription medications are the most abused type of drug out there, and even more than marijuana. And then on average, about 100 people die every single day from accidental drug overdose. And that's even more than car accidents. Now, what is considered prescription drug abuse? I've been telling you guys that prescription drug abuse is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. But what is prescription drug abuse? Well, we define prescription drug abuse as taking a prescription drug that was not prescribed to you. We define prescription drug abuse as taking more of a prescription drug than you're supposed to. And we define prescription drug abuse as taking a prescription drug for a reason other than you're supposed to. Now let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys think that teens are part of this problem with prescription drug abuse? Okay, some of you do. In fact, nearly 1 in 5 teens report abusing medications that were not prescribed to them, and 1 in 3 teens report knowing someone who abuses prescription drugs. And every day, 2,500 teens abuse prescription pain relievers for the very first time. Now, the question arises, why? Why do teens abuse prescription drugs? Some reasons that some teens have given are, they don't think that they're dangerous or that they're addictive at all. They think that they're a legal alternative to street drugs like marijuana. Some use it to actually get high. Some use it to relieve pain. Some use them to improve grades or to fit in. Yes, you with the question. What do you mean by they improve grades? Well, these drugs don't actually improve grades. So like if you take these drugs, they're not going to bump your C to an automatic A. When I say improve grades, I just mean they help you to be more alert and to focus. Now a little bit more figures is that teens admit to abusing prescription drugs for reasons other than getting high. And as I said before, some use them for pain relief, anxiety, or to increase their alertness. More than 1 in 3 teens say they feel some sort of pressure to abuse prescription drugs. And nearly 10% of the teens interviewed say that using prescription drugs is an important part in fitting in with their friends. And 40% of the teens consider the use of prescription drugs a much safer alternative to street drugs. And that's not true. They can be just as dangerous as street drugs. And 29% believe that prescription pain relievers are not addictive. And again, that's also false. They are and can be very, very addictive. So to clarify, in terms of abuse, prescription drugs are not a safe alternative to street drugs. And addiction can occur just as easily with prescription drugs as they can with street drugs. In fact, possessing or just having a prescription drug without a prescription to you is illegal and can actually land you some jail time. So, fact or fiction? Most people who abuse prescription medications get them from a drug dealer. Who here thinks this is true? Raise their hand. Okay, this is actually false. More than 70% of those who abuse prescription medications actually get them from family members or friends. Some ways they get them is that some of their parents have medicine cabinets where they store all their medications, or they have a common drawer with all their medications stored in them. This is how people get a hold of various drugs from their parents. So what can you do? What can we do to prevent others from abusing our medications that we get? Well, the first off, do not share your medications. Don't share them. Second, try storing your medications properly and securely. Think of something like a locked medicine cabinet or some kind of locked box to prevent other people from getting to your medications. And last, you can dispose of your old medications properly. Now, does anyone know how to properly dispose of your medications? throw it away in the toilet, flush them down. Flushing them down the toilet is what a lot of people say. However, do not do that. Do not flush your medications down the toilet because it can be harmful to the environment and the people that deal with the sewage. In fact, so to properly dispose of your medications, one way is to take them to prescription drug take back days, and and most counties have these. They're usually run by your local police departments or something. And this is an event where you can bring back your drugs, and they'll take them. They'll take back all your old drugs that you don't need anymore. If you want to find out more information about when the next upcoming one is, check out this website down here, recycle.solanocounty.com, and see when the next prescription drug take back day is going to be held. Now, let's say you can't get to one of these prescription drug take back days, and you want to get rid of your medications immediately or right away so it doesn't have the chance of someone else taking them. One thing that you can do is mix them in with something that's undesirable, like cat litter, coffee grinds, or like a used diaper. Mix them in there and throw them away so no one will want to dig through them and try finding them. Make sure when you get rid of them and when you throw away your pill bottle, make sure you black out your name and all your important information as well. But this is actually a very good alternative if you can't take your drugs to a take back day. So let's say you do know someone that is abusing prescription medications, and you see that or you see that they overdose on it. What things can you look for what things should you be looking for in case they overdose on those prescription medications? One thing, or some things to look for, are slow breathing, weakness, dizziness, nausea, tiredness, confusion, seizures, vomiting, and even pinpoint pupils. These are all very common side effects of overdosing on prescription drugs. So if you suspect that someone that you know has overdosed on a prescription drug, what should you do? Call 911. Call 911. I can't stress this enough, is to call 911. You can be anonymous when you call, but call 911. It's better to notify someone than to have a dead friend. And after you call 911, make sure your friend stays awake. Make sure you lightly shake them, tap them, talk to them. Do anything you can to keep them awake. It's super important to keep them awake because if they start falling asleep, they could suffer brain damage or even death. And when the paramedics come, if they have their prescription bottle that they might have overdosed on, make sure you keep that and give it to them. And give it to the paramedics or whoever comes so they know what kind of drug they're dealing with. Now, oh yes, can we kick them or punch them? To keep them awake, you don't want to kick them or punch them. Just think of it this way. If you were in their situation, would you want your friends kicking and punching you to try keeping you awake? I don't think so. So, in summary, prescription drugs can help us live longer and healthier lives, but only if they're used properly and under medical supervision. Now, if you have any other questions, my email is up there. And if you want any additional information about prescription drug abuse or drug abuse in general, you can check out these two websites, PRX, as well as the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administrations. Thank you.